If a city indeed was very concerned about maintaining their streets and keeping them preserved in a way against the wear and tear, then they would have made sure that they kept their seal coating program in their budget and didn't say, well, we don't necessarily need to do that, because anybody who's in roads at all, they know that the seal coating program, what it does is helps to protect those roads from the wear and tear of Mother Nature.
Absolutely.
And that once you've put in a new street and you've done your road reconstruction, that within that 9 to 12 year period, you have to start doing seal coating. Right. And that if you don't do that, you are just encouraging your roads to deteriorate. Absolutely. Because you're not taking care of your investment. And so blaming it on something else is easy to do.
Exactly. Mark's got some thoughts about that too.
It's true. You're absolutely right. And in fact, in the communities that we have dealt with, some of which Doug mentioned earlier, the engineers that we've never brought an engineer to testify at any organized collection task force meeting. But several communities have hired their own engineers, and their engineers say exactly the same thing. They say, number one, if most communities, including Maplewood, I looked today, including Maplewood, design their roadways for 9-ton axle weights. Maplewood does that. Most of the environmental factors that wind, rain, snow, ice, freeze thaw, that in universally in the engineers' testimonies has been the #1 reason that roadways wear and tear. In fact, in St. Anthony, the engineer that they had testified there said if you built a roadway today, you did not put a car on it or a truck on it for 20 years, you would essentially have the very same problems that you would have if the road was used daily by normal traffic. So consequently, you have environmental factors. You certainly have exactly what you talked about, that wear surface, that scuff surface. If it's not maintained, you have cracks, water gets in, you have freeze thaw, and no doubt that the wear and tear does take its effect on the roads. From our perspective, you know, the trucks we have, the industry has been very sensitive. In the last 10 years, there's been remarkable innovations in what we do and what we buy. It's not a mistake that we look for the lightest chassis and the lightest Packer body, and go to the extent of using aluminum rims and the things necessary to make the equipment light.
And that's exactly the kind of information I think that most citizens out there don't realize about these modifications that are being made to the trucks in the last 10 years to actually even address this problem. And yet, of course, I will tell you that in watching all of the meetings that have discussed this issue, I hear very little about the whole issue of weight, or exactly even the question, how much does a garbage truck weigh? You know, exactly how, you know, I mean, how is it not designed for the road that's been built?
Well, several things have taken place in I guess since about 1995. You started to see the automated equipment come out, and you may be familiar with the type of truck that pulls up to your neighborhood and has an arm come out of the side and lift the container over the top and dump it in. The idea behind that, in the rear load trucks, the trucks of the past for the most part, you had sometimes tandem axles, 2 axles on the back of that truck, but the Packer mechanism was housed on the very back of that piece of equipment. So you had all of the weight on the rear end of that truck. And as you put municipal solid waste in it, through the course of the day, that weight would move forward, and it would help offset things and move it forward on the axles.
Oh, okay.
The design behind an automated truck is that it loads from the center. And as it loads from the center, the weight is evenly distributed. And you have, in many cases, you'll see trucks that have, obviously, the front axles. You have a tandem axle or 2 sets of axles in the back. And in many cases, you either have a pusher axle or a tag axle, which, again, offsets additional amounts of weight. So although the truck looks big, when you factor the width of the tires, the footprint on the road, and the amount of tires, the trucks today are much lighter and much more user-friendly for the roadways than they ever have been.
It's all a matter of engineering.
Absolutely.
So for you kids out there thinking about going into engineering, you know what? There's a place for you. But I understand that we have a caller on the line. So let's see if we can take our callers' questions or comments here. Thank you for calling in this evening.
Hi, Mel Laundrie. Thanks for having this show and getting some more facts out about this issue. I watched that council chambers on cable TV when they had the meeting, and I was very disappointed. I seen the chair of that the council, Mr. Rosbach, pass out false information, and that was left to stand by the city manager, who obviously has correct information on that. What I seen was that he said that the city publishes information on how much callers charge, and I only seen them publish it once, and that was approximately 1995. And that he knows that's incorrect information, and the city does too, and they should stop it. Thanks very much, Joe.
Okay, well, thank you for that comment. And I think that typically, I mean, I think that Maplewood actually does have an ordinance or something that says that they will publish it, but I don't think that they have in their Maplewood Monthly. That would seem the logical place.
Yeah, Mark doesn't haul in this community, and I represent the association, so we don't know the specifics about the pricing situation.
So for our citizens out there that are interested in finding out whether or not, if it's been published or not, this is a good thing to do some investigation on.
Let me just interject one other thought about the pricing issue he mentioned. If you're not happy with your hauler, the beauty of competition and the free enterprise system is that you can shop around. Call your hauler and say, I think I might get a better deal if I shop with someone else, or my neighbor got an introductory rate, how come I didn't get it? And I think you'll be very surprised that haulers are eager to keep your business, or eager to take your business, and they're willing to discuss with people price issues, and prices are not standard, just like any other competitive product. I mean, you want to buy a flat panel television, you may buy one last month for $500 and it may be $250 now.
Right.
So the advantages of competition is prices go up and down depending on the marketplace and who's trying to take business and who's trying to discount, and all of that dynamic happens. So even if you publish prices, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get better prices in the marketplace if you do some shopping.
Well, that's exactly true, because it's not set, and they're free to negotiate their contracts either way that they want with their individual client that they have.
Absolutely.
No, I think I've been given the indication we have another caller on the line. Caller, are you there? Questions or comments for us this evening?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. You guys are doing very good, very good. I watch you guys. I watch your show every night that it's live. The Wednesday night that it's live. So
Thank you.
I just wanted to say you do a very good job, and I just wanted to tell everybody that we have good news this Wednesday night, and you know what that is?
What?
The last miner is coming out of the mine
Great.
now.
Fabulous. That's great news.
That's good. Well, thank you for that update.
I watched a lot of that overnight last night. It was quite something. Very exciting. Very exciting moment.
Yeah.
So we can take all our joys and emotions with us today.
That sure puts things into perspective when you see that happening.
It sure does.
These waste issues are pretty minor compared to that.
Absolutely.
That's right. But now, thank you for calling in with your update there, and for your kind comments, of course. Now, do you have any questions for us this evening on this particular issue, or something that we should be considering?
No, I do not. I just wanted to thank you for your time each and every show.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate that.
Have a good night.
Yes.
So, Diana, let me interject another thought, and the city may think this is something that's beneficial, but I'm not sure they've thought through the issue of how much it's going to cost, because getting into this business, so to speak, and managing this waste doesn't come free. The advantage of the current system is there is no city cost. Everybody decides on their own, works with their own hauler, makes their own decisions. If the city decides to take this over, they're going to have to, I've already talked about, at a prior council meeting, they've discussed about by hiring a consultant to help them through this statutory process. Obviously, they're going to need a lawyer to work with that. Far be it from me to complain about hiring lawyers. But,
or me.
or you, exactly. But it's going to cost them, for a consultant, for a lawyer. They're going to have staff to prepare a contract, an RFP contract, administer the contract, police the contract, and then, as Mark said, take phone calls of people who may not be satisfied or happy or have problems. And as I tried to mention to the City Council, you better even think about the prospect of citizens calling you council members or you the mayor because they've got something they want to talk about with respect to their service. Right now, none of that happens. Everyone deals with their own contractor, deals with their own situation, and if they're not happy, as I said, it takes 2 phone calls.
Right.
If you sign a contract for 3 or 5 years at the city, and the city is now the hauler, contracting for that service on behalf of the citizens, the contractor or the hauler works for the city, not for the citizens, and if the citizens aren't happy, they call the city, who then has to deal with the hauler, and you end up with much more administration and I suspect more cost.
Right, and you know, I think actually the citizens get that, and their question in the back of their mind is, well, okay, with all of that said, what's in it for the city? And I think that that is indeed the underlying question that many of the citizens who were at that meeting were wondering about. Now, I don't know that I have the answer for that, but we have a caller, another caller on the line. Caller, thank you for calling in. Questions or comments for us this evening?
This is a comment.
Okay.
And the comment is this. You probably do know, or you don't know, that Ramsey County is pushing this thing. And I think ultimately the Metropolitan Council is behind this thing too. And being that Maplewood's kind of in bed with this Ramsey County, they all jump right into the thing and do this little favor for Ramsey County. And they're going to pursue this thing. So let's make sure that people stay on this thing, because they are going to be on this thing right along. So we have to keep abreast of what these people are up to. So
now,
that's all I have to say about that.
Diana, thank you, caller, for that comment. I'm not aware of Ramsey County pushing, and I know they've, at the City Council, did have someone from Ramsey County who testified at a hearing this summer, or at a City Council meeting this summer. And if they're behind it, obviously that's something we're going to have to cope with. I think the best thing the citizens of Maplewood can do is to make sure they convince their City Council and Mayor not to proceed forward with this, because that'll send a signal to Ramsey County as well as other communities around your community that this is something that people don't want.
Well, and you know, and along those lines, you know, talking about comments that were made at the special meeting, your comment was very well stated in saying that if the council votes for the resolution of intent, that truly that does mean they have the intent to move forward. And they may say in the very beginning, oh no, we can always back off from it after we've studied, as if it's some study period, except that they've already had their study period essentially through the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission. And how many times have we always seen it before, where there's always this resolution of intent, whether or not it's to proceed with tax increment financing, or it's to proceed with some ordinance, or it's to proceed with whatever. Sure, they can always back out, but by the time they've gotten to that resolution of intent, that really truly sends a signal that says we are moving forward.
Diana, you're absolutely right, and that's why I addressed that issue at the first opportunity at the special City Council meeting. And I tried to do it respectfully to correct the mayor, who gave the impression, as you said, that, well, we passed this resolution and it's simply to study the matter. It's not. It's exactly what it says. It's we resolve to intend to organize. And the next period, by statute, is to figure out how we're going to do it, not whether we're going to do it. That's what's going on right now. That's why the people were there to say, don't do this, don't pass a resolution that says we intend to go down this road only to study it. If you want to study it, I told the mayor, study it, but don't pass an intent to organize, saying to the community, here we plan to do this, now we're going to figure out how we're going to do it, who we're going to hire. That shouldn't proceed forward, because in our opinion the citizens have very effectively and overwhelmingly said, don't intend to organize, don't pass a resolution, don't go down this road.
Right, and I think that it's important to recognize that when the study My understanding is it's been going on since at least January of this year. And